So all last week, I've been looking after my mother with my sister, who was dying of cancer, and on Friday she passed at 6:30 in the morning. So I don't have any. I haven't been making art lately, and normally I make something for this for Sunday, but all I can think about is my mom, of course. And so I just thought I would share with you a little bit about my mother, Audrey. She grew up in England, and they emigrated to California, basically when I was born. So both my parents were British. But I grew up in this big rambling house in Mill Valley, California, and she never left that house. She loved it so much, and she stayed there even when my father moved out, and she just kept living there alone. And I think she was really quite happy, but she was incredible. She took care of this huge house on about an acre of land and cleaned it and built retaining walls and sued the neighbor when the neighbor built his house too close to hers, and actually brought him to court. It was she was just incredibly strong and super, super willful, as many of my friends who have met her know. A challenging person for sure, but incredibly strong and determined and opinionated, and an insanely amazing, great baker. I remember a few years ago, 10 years ago, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she got tired of taking the medicine and disregarded the doctors, and they said she would only live 6 months, but she lived for 10 years. And I think it was just on sheer will. I've never seen anybody like this. All the doctors couldn't believe it, and they've stopped in the end to give her time limits, or to say anything about life expectancy with her. She fired hospice on more than one occasion and just decided to keep on living. So, but it was, last week, her cancer had spread so much, so it finally kind of overcame her. She was 90, and it was really interesting because I ended up staying in her house, in my house, that I hadn't stayed in for 20 years or more than that. And it was the house I grew up in. And I slept while I was looking after her in my old bedroom. And my sister, who was also looking after her, slept in hers. And so the last night, which was Thursday night, we both slept in our bedrooms. I mean, it was just odd. My mother was in the house, and she was really just dying in the living room. She was really just kind of leaving slowly, but I was in the upstairs, and my mother had gone through the house about 6 months ago and had thrown away everything. I think she was wanted to clean it up, so when she left, there would be nothing for us to go through. And all she left were the things that really mattered to her. And what was so interesting was that this room that I was in, and many of the other rooms, they're just filled with all the artwork that I had made for her over the years. I remember making all of them. I would always wait till the last minute, which is still something I do. And on Christmas, the night before Christmas, and I'd stay up late making Christmas presents, just pulling off whatever I was painting, because that's what she really loved. And it was just kind of remarkable. I mean, there must be 30 or 40 paintings and drawings that are in this house hanging on the walls, that I gave her. And it was just really interesting to kind of see the arc of my art a little bit, but to also just see how the art that we make for those we love, and it's really one of the most valuable things you can give somebody. And we kind of discounted at the time, but everything that we made, and it was not just me, my sisters as well, she kept all that. That's all that's in the house, are the things that we made for her. And it was also really great. A couple of years ago, she was a very private person and didn't really have hardly any friends, but she had sort of friends through my friends, and she was an incredible baker, and she always made pies for all my events and came to all my art openings. And when her cancer was really bad for a while, it was a few years ago, it eased off at one point and she was feeling pretty good. And it was the night before I was going to leave for a workshop in Molokai. And I just spontaneously asked if she wanted to go, which was crazy because she needed a lot of care, really. I mean, she could walk and everything, but it's like you don't want to bring your 90-year-old mother to a art workshop, especially if you're teaching it. But I did. And I know maybe some of you who are watching this were at that workshop, and it was so lovely to see my mother open up and just she just blossomed while she was there with all the friendly people, and she even got involved with making art, which I couldn't believe, and she made paintings and was really good. I mean, she had never painted, but I think she had just listened about making art through my father and me her whole life. But to see her do this herself, it was really touching and it was really special. But so I just wanted to share a little bit about my mother, Audrey, with you guys. So thanks so much.